Chapter 106. The Song of Moses. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 1 to 52. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. Because I will publish the name of the Lord, ascribe ye greatness unto our God. He is the rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment. A God of truth and without iniquity, just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves, their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do ye thus requite the Lord of foolish people and unwise? Is not he thy father that hath bought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee? Remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land, and in the waste, howling wilderness. He led him about, he instructed him, he kept him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle stirreth up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings. So the Lord alone did lead them, and there was no strange God with them. He made him ride on the high places of the earth, that he might eat the increase of the fields, and he made him to suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the flinty rock. Butter of kine, and milk of sheep, with fat of lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats, with the fat of kidneys of wheat, and thou didst drink the pure blood of the grape. But Jeshurun waxed fat, and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook God which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Of the rock that begat thee thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten God that formed thee. And when the Lord saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them, I will see what their end shall be, for they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God, they have provoked me to anger with their vanities. And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people, I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in mine anger, and shall burn unto the lowest hell, and shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap mischiefs upon them, I will spend mine arrows upon them. They shall be burnt with hunger, and devoured with burning heat, and with bitter destruction. I will also send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword without, and terror within, shall destroy both the young man and the virgin, the suckling also with the man of grey hairs. I said I would scatter them into corners, I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, Our hand is high, and the Lord hath not done all this. For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock had sold them, and the Lord had shut them up? For their rock is not as our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. The wine is the poison of dragons, and the cruel venom of asps. Is not this laid up in store with me, and sealed up among my treasures? To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time. For the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things that shall come upon them make haste. For the Lord shall judge his people, and repent himself for his servants, when he seeth that their power is gone, and there is none shut up or left. And he shall say, Where are their gods, their rock in whom they trusted, which did eat the fat of their sacrifices, and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them rise up and help you, and be your protection. See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, and I make alive. I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. For I lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. If I whet my glittering sword, and mine hand take hold in judgment, I will render vengeance to mine enemies, and will reward them that hate me. I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives, from the beginning of revenges upon the enemy. Rejoice, O nations, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto his land and to his people. And Moses came and spake all the words of this song in the ears of the people, he and Hoshea the son of Nun. And Moses made an end of speaking all these words to all Israel. And he said unto them, Set your hearts unto all the words which I testify among you this day, which ye shall command your children to observe to do, all the words of this law. For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life, and through this thing ye shall prolong your days in the land, whither ye go over Jordan to possess it. And the Lord spake unto Moses that selfsame day, saying, Get thee up into this mountain Abiram, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho, and behold the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession. And die in the mount whither thou goest up, and be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Hor, and was gathered unto his people. Because ye trespassed against me among the children of Israel, at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin, because ye sanctified me not in the midst of the children of Israel. Yet thou shalt see the land before thee, but thou shalt not go thither unto the land which I give the children of Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 1 to 52. In verses 1 to 43, we have the Song of Moses. In verses 44 to 52, after a word from Moses, God commands Moses to go to Mount Nebo. From there, he can see the promised land before he dies. The Song of Moses is a vindication of the ways of God. It begins rather strangely for us. In verses 1 to 3, the reference to doctrine is to a received teaching. The doctrine is not a teaching that needs to be drilled into unwilling minds, because it is like dew or like rain falling on a thirsty earth, and unwilting plants. It revives and gives life to all who receive it. Thus, the doctrine of God is life to all who receive it. It comes, verse 4, from the perfect rock, the foundation, God, whose ways are perfect. In the Song of Moses, as elsewhere, the term rock refers to God, except when used to designate false or pretended gods, as in verses 31 and 37. In Matthew chapter 16, verse 18, our Lord speaks of Simon as Peter, Petros, belonging to the rock, Jesus Christ. In verses 5 and 6, Moses declares that Israel has been corrupt and traitorous because it has repaid God's grace with unfaithfulness. God has been a father to them, and they are rebellious sons. In verses 7 to 14, Moses reviews God's mercy to Israel and his many blessings. God's protection surrounded Israel in a remarkable way. In verses 15 to 18, Moses begins by referring to Israel as Jeshurun, which means upright. This is a satirical term, and it has in mind what later became an important facet of the national life, Phariseeism. Israel confused grace with nature and saw itself as naturally superior. They thereby forsook God, verse 15, and provoked God to anger. They adopted false gods and forgot their Redeemer. The Song of Moses looks ahead in history to a recurring pattern of apostasy. In verses 19 to 25, we are told that God's reaction to this is anger and contempt. He stands to one side in anger to send judgment upon the faithless covenant people. They will face 4 kinds of judgments, or plagues. 1. Hunger. 2. Pestilence. 3. Wild beasts. And 4. War. Verses 23 to 25. The only thing restraining God from totally obliterating them from the world is that they bear God's name, and he does not want Israel's enemies to gloat over their death. Verses 26 and 27. In verse 28, we have a grim description of Israel. For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Their sin has blinded them, and they have forsaken justice. The same description today fits the former nations of Christendom. If they were wise, they would see from their history what the consequences are. Verse 29. As against Leviticus chapter 26, verse 8, a handful of enemies will put thousands of Israelites to flight. This failure is God's doing, and it is his surrender of them to their enemies. Verse 30. Even their enemies recognize what they refuse to see, that God has abandoned them. Verses 30 and 31. The enemies of God have a strength that comes from consistency. They are unequivocally the heirs of Sodom and Gomorrah. Verses 32 and 33. Clear-cut evil is always stronger than the Pharisaical, who claim a character they do not have, and who live in terms of an equivocal and divided premise. Whenever the godly become compromisers, they become weaker than the evil. They have no consistency, and their strength is diluted and destroyed. A once strong Western world is now a faltering cripple because it has no uncompromising premise. But in due time, God's vengeance will bring a day of calamity upon all the evil nations, verses 34 and 35. As against all false gods who are incapable of cursing or blessing, God says, "To me belongeth vengeance and recompense," verse 35. The Lord will judge his people and also their enemies. The false gods can do nothing for Israel. Let them be your protection, God says. To me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Verse 35. The Lord will judge his people and also their enemies. The false gods can do nothing for Israel. Let them be your protection, God says. See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Verse 39. The living God alone has power over life and death, and it is an absolute and sovereign power. God therefore declares he will take vengeance on the enemies of the covenant people after judging and punishing them. Verses 40 to 43. He turns his weapons, first used against his people, against their enemies. Let all other nations congratulate Israel for the vengeance God takes on their enemies. Verse 43. In verses 44 to 52, we have some final comments. First, in verses 45 to 47, we are told that God's law is a testimony and a witness against man's sin. In verse 46, all the words which I testify among you this day can be read as testify against you. The law spells out our moral rebellion, and it points us to strength. Second, to obey the law, Moses says, is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life, and through this thing ye shall prolong your days in the land, whether you go over Jordan to possess it. Verse 47. Life is thus associated with obedience to God's law. Third, Moses is told to climb Mount Nebo in order to see from afar the promised land, verses 48 to 52. Because place names change with time, we have no certainty which mountain Nebo is. Although this is called the Song of Moses, the speaker throughout is God, not Moses. Moreover, the song does not give any commandment. It simply states the consequences of disobedience. It stresses the simplicity of man's choice. It is between God's way and man's way, between God's law and man's law, between good and evil. The issue cannot be legitimately complicated into problems of foreign affairs, diplomacy, and the like. The 20th century has seen the steady blurring of moral lines. Prior to World War I, most Americans saw national and international issues in biblical moral terms. Woodrow Wilson shifted the moral grounds quietly to a humanistic world and life view. Since then, the prevailing view opposes any emphasis on moral problems. President John F. Kennedy insisted that our problems are technological, not moral ones. The view from Washington, D.C. is now anti-moral and anti-Christian. The Song of Moses very simply tells us that the only efficacious force in history is God the Lord. To forget that fact is to invite judgment, and it shall come, for we have seen God's grace to us as a nation as evidence of our supposed natural superiority. History is littered with peoples who assumed that what God had given them was their natural powers.